Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my viewers. I'm glad you're watching special edition. Remember, as we always tell you, each and every Sunday we are having a special edition, and today I've decided to give it a different name. So today's edition we are calling it Dr. Shamba. I know somebody, when I say Dr. Shamba, already you have a clue what I'm going to say, because this is a show that is going to treat all your land issues, all the questions that you're having concerning buying land, land transfer, land disputes, and successions. So today in the show, I'm glad that I'm going to introduce to you some gentlemen. I know some of the faces, of course, I, Leo, your host, and you also know Reverend James Njoroge. You saw him in the first edition of Dr. Shamba. And today we've also brought in a new face, and this is none other than Enock Agusa. I'm going to introduce my guest shortly, but kindly, if you're joining us now, I would just like to tell you that the first thing that you need to do, kama kawaida, you need to like the video, share the video, and invite friends so that we can be able to watch together. Karibuni sana na hisi mukiwa nyumbani. This is a freak show, and this is a show that comes to you each and every Sunday. Each and every Sunday, we do stay away from politics. Then we discuss matters that are going to help us. And that is why today our show is dubbed Dr. Shamba. All your land issues are going to be sorted. And for those people who followed us on Sunday last week, I think you already have a clue what the show is going to be like. So karibuni sana na muweze kujiunga nami na tuweze kuenda kwa pamoja. So as you join, as you like, and you invite others, ensure that if you're having your questions, you're having your concerns, you can always share them with us using the comment section. Just type your question, your comment, or your compliment on the comment section. And you can also send us an email through afiq24hours@gmail.com. So usikufe pale ukiwa na swali, because we are going to discuss general topics. We are going to discuss the matters in general. But I know somebody somewhere is having some personal questions. Somebody somewhere is having some personal experience. And so that we, my guest, be able to address your issues directly, I would like you to send them to us. So before I even introduce my guest, I always like to tell you what the show is about. This show is just going to talk about land issues, land disputes, how you want to transfer land, how you can be able to buy land, how you can be able to know that this land is genuine or it is hot air. And before that, I will always tell you that if you don't follow some due diligence, there is always kulia. So I just want to show you a small clip that will enable you to understand what we mean when we say we are seriously discussing land problems. Actually, land is a big problem that leads to loss of life, maybe through death. People can fight and die, people can get depressed, and people can also lose the entire income. Have a look at this video and it will tell you why you need this kind of show, so that it can be able to enlighten you on what you need to do concerning land. Karibu, 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 na uweze kukaribisha wengine, tuweze kusonga pamoja.
A family is mourning the death of their son after he was shot by a neighbor in Kabi, Waidaka sub-county, following a land tussle. It is reported the man was trying to shoot when the incident occurred. Elsewhere, another family in Migori is mourning the death of their kin, who was also murdered over a land tussle. Helena Ura has that report.
This riled up crowd could not hold their anger after the death of a young man who was allegedly murdered by his neighbor.
Hii shamba ni yetu hii. Tuko naweka ndio beacon za shamba, tuko naweka beacon za shamba. Sasa huyu mzee tulipokuja akatupata pale chini na gugango pale chini. Kwanza akapiga ukiangalia ukanga amevuta mdomo, akampiga ngumi. Obvious kijana wake zima angekasirika. Vile tulimpata hapa, alikimbia kwa nyumba akatoka na bunduki.
The family claims that 29-year-old Ayub Kamuyu was shot on the chest while shielding his father from an ongoing wrangle with the neighbor over a parcel of land which both families claim ownership of.
Nilipokuwa pale chini, yeye mwenyewe akanja. Akanitusi kwanza, nikamuuliza hakuna haja ya kunitusi. Akaniuliza kwa nini hamkutuarifu mkifanya survey.
Survey na shamba yake.
Sasa ndio nikamwambia hii ni barabara.
Mtu anapatiwa bunduki, instead atumie njia nyingine, asema atalikuwa ati self defense. Self defense gani? Unaangusha mtu, unapiga mtu risasi ya kifua mbili, hata si moja.
According to the family, this is not the first time the neighbor has threatened them over the piece of land.
Nasema ati hii barabara ni yake na ni ya Kanjo, imetolewa na City Council. Imetolewa na Kanjo, alafu anadai ati ni yake, tunaiba shamba yake, na ukiangalia ati ukiangalia na map yenye inasema amepitisha hadi barabara, ameiba nini part yetu ya shamba. So hiyo ndio inakuanga tu shida yake, atakangi hata watu wapite hapa.
The body of the deceased has been taken to PCEA Kikuyu Hospital mortuary, while the suspect is still under police custody.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And once again, I welcome you to the show and I thank you so much for your patience. I've played the video there, and the video is just about the land dispute. Somebody already lost life because of the land dispute. And you'll find that had these people been given some little information, then they would have been at a position to prevent that. So allow me, ladies and gentlemen, maybe with age. So let me start with the Reverend James Njoroge. Reverend, karibu sana kwenye show. This is Afiq, and this is the place that we normally get this kind of moment so that we can be able to talk to Kenyans from wherever they are, so that we can be able to give them some information that is vital. And I'm glad that you dedicate your time to join us in this show each and every Sunday so that we can be able to unlock this land dilemma. I know some of the people who followed us last Sunday already know you, but for the sake of our new viewers, kindly just introduce yourself, tell them who you are, where you are, then we'll proceed from there. Karibu sana.
Yeah, asante ndugu yangu leo Nyambaya, as usual, for your kindness na humanity yako na the professionalism ambayo unatupatia katika hii program. Nashukuru sana, na hata ukiwa mbali bado unafanya kazi mzuri sana. My name's, kama mmesikia, ni mchungaji James Njoroge. Niko US, niko state inaitwa Virginia State. Karibu sana, like 20 minutes. Mahali ninakaa ni 20 minutes to Washington DC. Hivyo niko karibu sana na capital ya nchi hii. Na ninashukuru sana kwa sababu ya Afiq na mambo ambayo tumeongea juu yake. I'm so glad to be associated, kwa sababu mimi ni part of the victim ya mashamba. Niliwaambia wakati last Sunday juu ya shamba ya my own father ambaye alikuwa na bibi watatu, na vile ambavyo tumestruggle, lakini tumefika pahali ambapo sasa tuko na beacons ya shamba hilo. Tunangoja tu pesa ndio tupate sasa mpaka na title zitolewe. Na kuna hata mengine na hata nikiwa mchungaji unasema pengine mchungaji, mambo ya mashamba sasa uko nini? Hebu nikwambie, Biblia yenyewe inazungumza zaidi juu ya mashamba. Kama hao tumeona katika Biblia, yuko katika Biblia. Na wengine wetu ambao wana watch, najua ni au ni Muislamu au whatever religion is. Karibu maji una huharibu maji kwa Wakristo peke yake.
He's here now talking matters of land. He's here now talking to you Kenyans. So that one tells you how interesting the land is. Even if you take a flight and go miles away, the ancestral land is still there. So the issues will still have to follow you wherever you are. So all the way from Nyamira County, I'm glad and I'm happy to introduce to you Enock Agusa, and he will introduce himself. I'll give him time to tell us more about him. And just to remind you, Enock is a teacher, and I know teachers who are following here, you're glad that one of your own is here. Apart from being a teacher, Enock is having several caps. He's also a paralegal working with the Kenya National Human Rights Commission, and Enock is also an investor. Those people who come from Kisii or those people who come from Nyamira, he will tell you more about what he's doing. He's an educationist. Actually, he's running a school that is really changing the communities back there at home. So that one tells you how resourceful he is. We are bringing people with a lot of experience. We're bringing people who are so resourceful that when we just take time and make use of their time, then we are going to have our lives changed. I know those people who are in Kenya, you know what is happening. There's some problems with the power and so you'll have to bear with him. But I know he's making his way back. He'll just connect, then we'll have to proceed. Kama bado anakuja, we can start with Reverend. Last time that we were here with Engineer Mora, we did talk about something called a succession. We did talk about land succession, and maybe to the viewers who are joining. Oh, thank you very much. Enock, if you can hear me, kindly just unmute and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry from my side here. It seems there's a poor network, but I'm trying to restore it.
No problem, no problem. We understand we are Kenyans, and those are some of the reasons why some of the things we do talk and try to address in this kind of platform. So just proceed, don't worry.
Yeah, thank you.
So
my
maybe,
name is Enock.
I hope you got me, sir. Proceed.
Yes, good evening there, or good afternoon.
Yes.
My name.
Oh, sorry for that. I know he will sort it. So, engineer, sorry, not engineer, but Reverend, just back to you, telling you, when we were here, we talked about something called succession, and together with the engineer Mora, you people were able to explain to our viewers what succession is, and you also did tell them the process of land succession. So I would just like you, maybe in 2 minutes, just to summarize, just to tell them, for the viewers who are joining us today for the first time, if you can just tell them what land succession is, and maybe in a nutshell, just try to summarize what it entails. I would really appreciate.
Yeah, we talked about succession, and it's one of the topics that we have in the list. Na succession is critical kwa sababu many of us inherit land. There are many types of land, and one of them is inherited land. And when you talk about succession,
Yes.
that's I think our brother is back.
I'm back.
Okay.
Oh, great. So just proceed. Sorry.
Go ahead, Enock.
Yeah, thank you. As I was saying, I'm Mr. Enock Agusa Mocheche from Kenya, Nyamira. I work with human rights. I'm also a teacher. Normally, we solve so many issues. Like previously, we were talking about succession, and today I would like us to go directly to transfer of land. Yaani wakati umenunua shamba kutoka kwa mtu mwingine, jinsi ambavyo the process you are supposed to follow, so that ndipo na wewe uweze kupata lile shamba ikuja katika jina lako.
Kabisa.
Yes. Kwamba wakati unaponunua shamba ama unapopewa shamba hata kutoka kwa baba yako, ni just the same process. For example, wakati unapopewa shamba ni lazima lazima ufanye what we call a search, official search, ya kuonyesha kwamba kweli kuna shamba. Kwa sababu mtu anapokuhusia shamba, kwa mfano anakuletea na kuonyesha I have the title deed. So your work is to make sure that you have an official search. The other process unafaa kwenda ni kwamba lazima uende uone hilo shamba na macho. Then from there third person anakuchukua mahali tunaita LCB, Land Controls Board. Akupeleke pale, alafu the Land Controls Board wa take minutes na aweze kueleza ni kiwango kipi cha shamba ameweza kukupatia ama anakuuzia. After that, they will take minutes, and then there is a form inakuwa pale, inaitwa application form ya consent. There is a consent yenye anasaini kwamba amekubali kukupatia shamba. So katika ile consent kuna documentation zinakuwa pale, lazima aseme ni kiwango kipi, kama mko watu wawili ama mtu mmoja wanaenda kufanya subdivision. Sasa huyu mtu sasa anaenda kufanyia subdivision, inaandikwa pale kwa ile form. Then from there anakupatia, unapewa go ahead, unachukua a government surveyor. Akifika pale anaenda anapima shamba, anamaliza. Akirudi na documentation vile amepima shamba, then unafanya process inaitwa stamp duty. Unaenda unaita valuer wa serikali, alafu unalipa survey fee, then unalipa stamp duty. Then after stamp duty, surveyor anachukua the document from survey to land registry. Akifika land registry, the land is now registered. How is this land now registered in the land registry? It is registered in the green card. There is a green card whereby all of the notes your credentials, kila kitu inaandikwa pale, and then after the land registrar has registered, sasa anakuprintia the title deed. After bringing the title deed, you need not to move. Immediately, you apply again for the search.
Right, that is okay. As Enoch is coming back, I know you are really preparing questions. He talked of so many things. He said the process, there's something called official search. And I think last time, engineer touched on the official search, whereby you have to get a search to show you. And he also mentioned the green card. For the first time, we had the word green card, and we were told that green card is this document where the details of the land is written. And if the land is transferred, then they'll always have to come up with another green card. And of course, Enoch has also told us that there is something called stamp duty. So as he comes back, I know we are going to get an opportunity, and he will tell us more about this stamp duty, how maybe it is charged, and the official search. So, Mr. Enoch, it is good you are there. Maybe the question that we'll like to ask you is, you've talked of official search. So, where is this search done, and who can do this search? Now that I know, Reverend, you can also be at a position to respond to that. Where is this official search done, based that you have an experience in it? Then, now that we are talking of digital, can I just sit inside my house and do the search and get the results, or must you involve somebody maybe who is authorized to do the search? So maybe let me just start from there. What about this official search? How do we do it, and who can do it, or can it be done just online and you get it?
Is Enoch there?
No, Enoch is trying to join, so maybe I know you can be able to proceed with that. Maybe to expound on this official search.
The search is very important, as Enoch has said, and as engineer Florence said the other time. Kwa sababu, you remember the last time we were here, she gave an example of a search that she went to in Malindi as a surveyor to help somebody in the search for the land ambayo ilikuwa anauziwa.
Yes.
So the beginning part is to the survey. You have to go to the space so that the search is begun there. Then you have to have a surveyor who will be able to do that search. And the example that the engineer alipatia the last Sunday that we were here, it was very revealing, because when they went to go and did the research, the land in Malindi, it was showing that the land is at the sea.
Yes. I remember. The land was inside the sea.
It's not in the land. It's not in the land. It is in the sea. Sababu sasa hiyo ilikuwa something that was fabricated, so that you pay, and I think the buyer, the owner who was to sell the land was very surprised by that, because the surveyor was able to do the mapping, the engineering part of it, and finding that there is no land ambaye he is selling. That was very, very telling. You can imagine, if I just imagine if I was the seller, and I'm having somebody who is now from the Ministry of Land Survey Department telling me, telling the person I'm selling the land to, hakuna shamba hapa, hakuna shamba,
hakuna shamba, shamba iko ndani ya maji.
The land is in the sea. So so that was a very very bad situation. And so, as the engineer said, search is one of the most important, because of you could be buying a land that has been sold to 5 or 10 other people, and you probably the 5th or the 10th. So let's not be say that it is not important. Some of these things are important, and A lot of us are going to learn these things. Karibu, Enoch.
Thank you, thank you. So Enoch, maybe a quick question. Who does this land search? Do you have somebody authorized to do it, specific people, or anybody else can just walk in and walk out with the land search? That is the quick question that maybe I wanted to know from you as you proceed.
Okay, previously you were to go to the land registry directly, and then you were to, as long as you have the parcel number.
Oh, guys, I think we are really sorry for that. It is beyond our control. But just to remind you that in the land edition today, that is Dr. Shamba, we are having Mr. Enock Agusa, and Enock Agusa comes from Nyamira County. For those people who come from Nyamira County, Enock is a teacher by profession. He is an investor who is running a school, a private school in Nyamira. And Enock is also a human rights activist who is working with the Kenya National Human Rights Commission. And with him, we are also having our very own Reverend James Njoroge. And those people who are here last weekend, you remember we hosted Engineer Mora and Reverend James Njoroge. And James is so experienced in matters of land simply because he's also having some first-hand experience. With his age, he's undergone through these processes. So he's not just talking of stories that he's had, but he's talking of what is called ground experience. And again, we are also happy to interact with Enock, who not only knows or maybe helps people to solve this kind of disputes, but he also represents people wale wamedhulumiwa. Maybe somebody has taken your land and you have nobody to help you because, you know, we are living in a country whereby kama huwezi toa kitu kidogo, pengine mambo yako hayataenda sawa sawa. And as a human rights activist or human rights defender, he defends such kind of people and ensures that you get back your land or you get what rightfully belongs to you. And he is also a paralegal. You know what the paralegals do. So he will not only advise us on the process, but he will also show us ways in which we can be able to reclaim parcels of land that we lost in the hands of people who are corrupt or people who don't care about ourselves. So Enock, karibu sana, you are telling us what happens when somebody wants to get a search, so you can proceed.
Yeah, yes. When you want to get a search nowadays, there is some changes that they have done in the land registry. You have to go with a copy of a title deed to prove that truly that land is there, and you have a copy of title deed. Then they will search for you. Then you will be given an official search. Yes. And an official search is derived from the green card. What is in the green card? Inaonyesha the status of that land, whether it is sold to somebody else or it remains intact with the mother title. Yes. Another thing, when you are buying land,
yes,
somebody will bring for you a title deed, and in that title deed, when you open inside, there is somewhere it is written subdivision done. There is a number, you find it is written there that this title has been subdivided from a certain number. That is where you need to be very careful, because if it has been subdivided na ikapewa mtu mwingine, sasa unafaa kumuuliza, this number yenye imekuwa divided from, is this person alive?
Yeah.
Yes, because a subdivision is being done from only a person who is alive. Or what relationship do you have with this person? Is it maybe your father, your uncle, or your grandfather? If you realize that where subdivision was done from, this person is not alive, you have to inquire, when did this person die? And when was this subdivision done? If the subdivision was done before this person died, then that one, it is genuine. But if it was done when this person died, because the date is indicated there, you must know whether they went succession or they just went to land registry, they just gave some little cash, and then they were given, the subdivision was done in the land of interstate.
Mr. Enock,
So,
just maybe
let's
to make it clear for the viewers. So, are you trying to say that subdivision can only be done by people who are alive? Like subdivision, for subdivision to be done, the owner of the land must be alive to do the subdivision alone. And in case the person is deceased, then it has to be called, or it has to go through what is called succession. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, if the person died without subdividing his land to anybody, that land must go into a process of succession. Because what we've learned, and we've cancelled
Viewers, that is Mr. Enock is telling you that if somebody dies before doing subdivision, then the thing that is going to happen is what we discussed last time, called succession. So succession simply means you are going to succeed the property of somebody who is deceased. And I remember we were told that in succession, there will be somebody who is going to be appointed, and this person is going to be called the administrator. And the administrator is the one who is now going to do the subdivision and divide this land. And I'm glad I'm having one of the administrator here. So the Mr. Administrator, you know, you are an administrator in your brother's or your brother's land, and now you are going to do some division to the relatives, or maybe to your niece or to your brother's daughters and sons. So can you just tell us, just brief us on how did you manage to do this kind of succession, and how did they manage to appoint you that now you are the administrator? Do they look at the eldest person, or do you have to agree on who becomes the administrator? Unmute.
Yes. The family is very important. Even when I'm the only uncle remaining, and my sister, we are the only remaining in a house, in a family that had 3 wives. We were all 17 of us. Even when it is like that, we still have to follow what the law requires. And you cannot just walk in there and say, hii ni shamba ya baba yangu, nitaichukua peke yangu, and those are other things. No, this is an inheritance. So succession is very, very, very important. And one of the person that is very helpful, as we said the other time, is the chief in the area. And one of the requirements that the chief will need, as I said the other time, in order to verify and to be able to verify that this land is genuine and it also belonged to my father. Even I am being the son, I cannot just go empty-handed na kusema tu ni ya baba yangu. Of course, the chief in the area knows me, and his father, and even if the chief is young, there are people, older people in the village who the chief can contact, and they will be able to know who my father was, and me being is one of the sons. And so I have to start by calling all the relatives, that anybody that is alive, come and if there was 3 wives, if there is any one of the wives remaining, she has to be part of that meeting. And the question that Leo has asked, how do you become now the administrator? The family has to, even when I'm an uncle, they have to declare and write it down that I am the only person who can even walk into the land office and get the map the map itself.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if Enock.
So once they make you the administrator, you are the only person who is allowed to interact with those documents, and you're the only person who is allowed to maybe talk on behalf of the family and the property, right?
And sometimes the family may not even choose one person. There might not be an uncle or a mother or somebody else who is left. Like the families, that large families with the 2 wives or 3 wives, sometimes what they do is you'll have to collect all the IDs of anybody that is alive related. Either they were calling that man my grandfather, whatever. You have to call all those IDs, wherever they are, and then those IDs are presented to the chief, and then those people will have to choose either one administrator, or they can choose an administrator from each home.
Okay, I get it.
And so if there are 3 wives, they could have 3 people who are administrators. Or if it is 2 wives, they could have 2. Or all of them could agree that we have no problem. We will only choose one. So that is a family matter that has to be dealt with. And in this case, the chief chairs that meeting until the administrators are chosen.
Okay.
Yes.
That is great. My viewers, this is a special edition, and that is why we call it Mr. Shamba. So we are only talking matters land. You know, land is so vast that when we don't talk about it with some due diligence, then a lot is yet to happen. So kindly, if you're joining us, keep it here, share, like, and invite others so that they can also come and partake in this important information that is going to change their lives. So I know people have really had issues. People have been having questions. You can keep on sending the questions. We'll always try to shape the show, or we'll always try to address the questions that are asked by the viewers. So we don't just come up with the show and say that today we are discussing this. But if we choose that today we are talking of succession, or today we are talking of land transfer, it is because those are the leading questions that are disturbing majority of you. Sasa kama unajiunga nasi unajiuliza ni nini inaendelea hapa, leo tumeweka siasa kando, tunazungumza mambo ya shamba. Ndiposa tunasema kwa today's Sunday special edition we are having Dr. Shamba. Of course, with me is Reverend James Njoroge. I'm also having Enock, and we also have Engineer Mora, even though she's not with us today, but she's part of this show. Karibu sana, na hakikisha kwa you invite others and subscribe to Afiq 24 Hours TV. Now, somebody might be asking, why do we have this kind of shows? We are having this kind of shows because there is a lot that is happening in the land issue. There is a lot of questions that people are asking. There is a lot of issues that need to be sorted. And guys, guess what? I didn't expect this. I'm so happy to be joined by my sister Stella Wangari. Stella is also a legal expert, and she dealt with this kind of cases. Last time when we had the show, she tried to get in, but because of the internet and the electric issues, she didn't manage. Stella, karibu sana. Ni mahali tuliacha ndio tumeshikilia, hatujasonga, ndio tumeanza, ni pale pale tu ndio tunaendelea nayo. So karibu sana.
Karibu.
Thank you. I'm Mr. Njoroge.
Karibu sana sana. Tulikumiss sana.
Unfortunately, there was a national blackout, so it had affected
yes.
So now, at least now we are back. So they had sorted out. So they were talking about offload and offshed, you know.
Yes.
We understand is public negligence, as we know as Kenyans. So when someone comes with a lot of excuses, so you just let it slide. So
you just have to buy the excuse,
Yes.
Yeah,
people don't want to take the blame.
Kabisa.
Yes.
One of the
So-
things I want before Stella comes, Bwana Leo, ni kusema when people think about the search, wanafikiria tu juu ya ofisi ya surveyor. But
actually, that is what most people think about. Even me, if you tell me search, that is what comes to my mind.
Stella will rehabilitate that, but I just wanted to say that search is done where the land is located. And so you don't have to drive all the way from Machakos or from Kiambu or from wherever to come and to the surveyor for your search. There are surveyor offices there that you have to start with. So search is located where the land is. And Stella, maybe you can tell us a little bit more, but I'll give back to Leo akuulize maswali.
Thank you. No, Stella, just karibu. No, last time when she left, there's something important she was addressing. Maybe you can start from there. Then tukiendelea. Karibu.
So do I start when someone wants to purchase a land?
Yes.
Actually, that is the most important part of it. Yes.
The last time when engineer was here, she gave nitty-gritties when someone wants to buy land. But remember, when guys want to buy land, I think you have to do first your due diligence. I know there are people who are in a haste, or maybe they get information like, let's buy a land because it's an investment. Yes, but please check if that investment, is it worth the money which you're buying? Or is it the time and the effort which you'll be using? Because at times someone will buy land, but you'd see it does not bring up, you don't get the value of that land. So the first thing when I say that when a client walks in an office and says that he wants to buy land, so the first thing we have to know the vendor, who is the one who is selling, and the purchaser is the one who is buying. So if I'm acting for a purchaser and the vendor is being, it will be better for the purchaser and the vendor, to avoid any legal tussles, they need to have an advocate or a legal representative. It doesn't make any sense that because he's your friend, or maybe you want to divert, not to go through the legal way so that you're saving money. Remember, you need to save money to save your asset. So if I'm acting for the vendor, for the purchaser, the first thing I'll ask for the vendor to produce for me the title. So I, as the legal representative, I'll have to go scrutinize that title before I go to a search. I need to know whether the title is genuine. I need to know if that title, if you check in a title, most of, so we have the IR, the bigger titles, which are in someone who works here. I mean, we have the titles which like for lease, and we have the titles which are certificate of lease, and we have title deeds, which it's your own land, which you're not entitled to pay any rates for it or any land rent. So if a client would come and say that I need to purchase land, I need to scrutinize that title. Is that title, it's falling under a county which needs to be paid rates and land rent. Remember, rates is for the county and the land rent is for the government. So after that, I go check with the search. First thing I do the search in the Ministry of Lands. So since there's devolution, let's say I'm in Kajiado, I'll have to go to the Kajiado Lands Office. I go do my search. Remember, when you're doing that search, don't get satisfied that one search will be enough. I also need to tell the purchaser also, who is my client, to go and do a search. So once they bring that search, we see which is the one which is coordinating. If for mine it's genuine and the for purchasers is genuine and the vendors is not genuine, please don't purchase that land. Or maybe the vendor is not genuine. Another thing, you have to scrutinize if that title has the vendor's name and has the ID and the PIN. Because right now, the Ministry of Lands, what they have done, long time ago, used to get a title, but it only shows the ID number of the vendor, but it doesn't show the PIN. So maybe you can have the same name like your grandfather or like your grandmother or like your grandmother, but you have the same name, but the ID is different. But now, since lands have been becoming so scrutinized, they also include you to have your PIN. So the only thing which can make you...
So when you say PIN, Stella, maybe just maybe to make it clear for the viewers, when you say PIN, you mean the KRA PIN or which PIN, or you have a specific PIN?
No. The KRA PIN. Everybody knows in Kenya. If I say a PIN, everybody knows. I think that thing gives people some shivers in their backyard. So once that title, when I'm going to do a search and I scrutinize, I see whether the ID and the PIN matches in the registry file. If it matches, that's genuine. If that title has only the ID, but there's no PIN, you need to go back again and scrutinize the vendor to give you something called a green card. So that green card carries everything. So maybe at times, maybe there's an oversight at the file at the lands office, but if you know that those information is missing, don't purchase that land. Another thing which I warned people and I told them, when you're purchasing a land, you have to check whether that land is either in a reserved area, whether it is a road, or whether it is in a wetland. Or where the wetland where I mean, like whether there's a river running in or whether there's a swamp. Because there are things which you cannot, like in the environment law, where you see a swamp, you cannot interrupt it. Because maybe that's a source of water, of what maybe where animals are, or maybe it's a source of water where maybe it's something like accounting, maybe it identifies. Another thing you also...
So Stella, you mean the swamp, things like the swamps and the rivers cannot pass or cannot be in somebody's private land. So if it is I buy land that is having a river passing through, I leave it.
Leave it because it's marked in the surveyor map. If you check your title behind, there's a place where it shows you a site plan or a deed plan. That deed plan has coordinates like a compass. Because of technology's sake, the surveyor of land the surveyor of Kenya have made it easier for you. You can use your Google map or maybe use your Google site. Because if you try and open your Google site, it can show exactly where that land is. Another thing, what you have to also to avoid, if you know that that land it's near a road, but okay, fine. People would say maybe it's a good investment. But remember, population, it bursts at any time, at anyhow. What I advise many the clients, that you should buy a land which is maybe 3 plots away from the road, because you can maybe do an investment. Then what happens in 10 years? It is marked X by the guys of NTSA or the maybe government, and you cannot fight it. That's why you've seen a lot of people in in Kamakis. If you've been in Kenya, Kamakis, Thika Road,
yes,
Mombasa Road, yes, SGR. Remember, people were trying to claim that land to be given a compensation by the government. But when
the government is not compensating you,
you will be compensated if the government will ask if you can allow them to pass maybe a road or a railway. That is genuine. But it will show in the surveyor. So that the survey of Kenya, they will show you where the mother title falls in. If you're along the road reserve, it is going definitely to be demolished. So as we say, ignorant of the law is no an excuse.
Kabisa.
Yes.
But so you remember, Stella, Balaleo, if you remember when they were building Thika Road.
Yes.
One of the peoples that complaint had were the people in Githurai.
Yes.
Because there was a lot of demolition around Githurai because of that plant, roundabout or whatever it is.
Yeah, where they assumed it was a market.
Exactly. And the government, if I can remember very well, they told them, there's no compensation. This compensation was done in 1974.
There was no, okay, if you go back, if you check why they were not compensated, Remember, during independence, there's a way how that land was demarcated.
Exactly.
Yes. So remember, Githurai was in another. It was not in Nairobi. So then, how it was left? That road reserve was left for the coffee farmers.
Yes.
So someone somewhere became greedy as a city father, started selling land and encroaching and encroaching and encroaching.
That's true.
So once when you encroach, now remember when you encroach that land and you're selling to the other person, remember those days, no one in lands or maybe survey of Kenya was telling you a genuine story. They only needed to have money in their pockets.
Yes.
So what happened when Kibaki regime came in? Guys were told, you've encroached the land.
Yes.
They were like, no, we need compensation. Then they were told, bring the title. No one had a genuine title.
No.
No one brought the title. The only people who came out with the title are the guys of Ruaraka. And Chama.
Yes.
Or the guys who are living, is it in Gomba or somewhere? Then they were told, these are the right.
Gomba, I know Gomba, the one neighboring Babadogo and where we are having the East African breweries here.
Yes. Because Gomba was a place where farmers were taking their coffee. So the Gomba Farmers Association, they're the ones who had the genuine title, which was running all the way up to Githurai.
Mr. Leo, if you allow me, on behalf of the people in diaspora who I represent, would want to ask this question. Either Enoch or Stella could answer this.
It's good we are now having two heads here, so we can comfortably get answers. Yes,
On the issue of PIN, I'm lucky myself. Well, maybe I can say that, or blessed, I should say, because when I was in Kenya, I was paying taxes, so I have a PIN. And when I went back to administer my father's properties and other things, that PIN was still valid because it's registered with the taxes. The thing is, there are people here who don't have a PIN, and even when you tell them PIN, wanakuuliza hiyo ni nini? Ni kipande? Sio kipande, ni PIN. So can explain the viewers who are in diaspora here, how do they get a PIN once they get back to Kenya?
Leo, I'll let you introduce Enoch. I think.
Enoch.
Yes.
And Enoch, welcome back. And Enoch was here, but he had the similar challenges that we had last time. But I'm glad he's now back and his internet is now stable. So Enoch, karibu, and maybe you can start by what Reverend has just asked about the KRA PIN. And I also just maybe to try to rephrase his question. It is true. Initially, people did not take the KRA PIN seriously until when they migrated to iTax, whereby even if you are abroad, you can still be able to file your returns. And actually, the fact of the matter is that majority of those people who are in diaspora, they normally file nil returns. And if you ask them why they're filing nil returns, they'll tell you, I'm paying taxes here in America. I'm paying taxes here in Canada. So I cannot pay taxes here, then again pay taxes in Kenya. That is called double taxation. So in Kenya, they normally file nil returns, and which is true because they don't get any income from the country. So they are right to file nil returns. But those people who went in the olden days, this kind thing of KRA PIN was not that mandatory. And currently, it is mandatory. You cannot open a bank account without a KRA PIN. There's nothing you can do. You cannot apply for a passport without a KRA PIN. So for the people who are going maybe from the iTax period, they don't have any problem with that. So Enoch, maybe you can just help us. Somebody's in diaspora, they want to purchase some land in Kenya, but they don't have this kind of KRA PIN. They normally have to use their relatives who ends up duping them. They sometimes don't buy this land, or they buy land and register in their name. And when these people come back, they turn against them. Land is not in their name, so they end up losing. So how do you do that? Or how do we go about it, Mr. Enoch?
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, a PIN is an important document. And if you don't have a PIN, you cannot do any transaction. That's why most people, when they use their relatives, they end up taking possession of their land. So what I can advise is anybody who is in diaspora or anywhere, kindly ensure to have your PIN in order for you to be able to do transaction by yourself. Kwa sababu usipokuwa na hiyo, hata serikali huwezi fanya chochote. Because even man, how could you say it? Because you must open a bank account. So my advice to each and every person, that is an important requirement like an ID nowadays.
So how do they go about it?
I encourage every person to have the KRA PIN.
Yeah.
Kenya Revenue Authority, because you must have it.
Stella,
That is great. And maybe, maybe, Stella, you want to say something? Or you want to
Let me
proceed.
add on that.
Okay.
Right now, because KRA has been, as it's now digitized. So I believe everybody can go through iTax. So what you need to do, you just go to the iTax portal and register as a tax. You go to and register as a tax. So remember, when you're doing your tax, you have to put your PIN. No, sorry, you have to put your ID. Your ID will demonstrate your parents and also your father's name, your mother's name. It won't put a relative. The thing is, you need to put the correct information. Now, here is the issue with people who are living in diaspora. If you give the wrong email address or you give the wrong phone number, remember that time when you're trying to get your PIN, you'll be unable. So what I can advise is people to go to KRA website. There's a call center there. They can be guided how to get their PIN.
Okay.
Please remember, put your correct email address, put correct phone number, because the way the portal works, if they want to identify you as a genuine taxpayer or a tax holder, you need to give such information. Like, it's how you lose your password.
Yes.
If you lose your password, tells you forget password. So what happens? It sends you maybe an OTP. So what I can say genuinely, the guys in the diaspora, I know that you can able to get someone who deals with the diaspora tax. You can get them through their website. They can assist you how it is done. It doesn't mean that when you're doing your new returns that you're double taxpayer. No, you're only updating your information. If you do not update your information, you're penalized. It's like in the US. If you don't do your IRS return, you're also penalized. Same thing. So now where KRA comes in is like where there's something called a cost or maybe a transaction. The taxman, end of the day, has to get his own part. So don't feel offended. KRA is asking for their tax. So now let's say like when you're investing and you want to buy a land, remember, and this is what I've said, your PIN.
Stella, that one brings me maybe to a question that I wanted to ask you. I know you've represented so many people who are buying property and being in the legal department. So what percentage, how does the KRA normally calculate the amount? For example, you are selling land to me. I'm told there's something called, Enock talked of something called the stamp duty and such kind of things. How do they calculate? How do they evaluate the land? For example, there's land that you find somebody has sold you land because alikuwa na shida amekuzia shamba. Let me give an example. In my village, they sell you a land at around 300,000 shillings, 300,000 K. But if you get maybe an independent evaluator to do some evaluation of that land, you'll find that that land nearly can even be worth 600K. So when you're now going to pay the stamp duty, so which value are they going to use? The real market value or the amount that you're paying?
Okay, there are two ways. It comes in, let's say when you're buying land. So there's something called a sale agreement. So if you, the purchaser and the vendor have come up with a fee saying that this amount, let's say I'm buying that land for 2 million, and maybe the land is worth maybe 10 million. The thing is, the stamp duty part comes where you put your information, where there's a stamp duty calculator in your iTax. So you have to log into your iTax, or you give if you're a trusted advocate, please don't give your relatives your PIN or your passwords for your iTax. This is very dangerous because they can do some funny business. You find yourself where you cannot get yourself out. So you can entrust your advocate, and it is something simple. In fact, they've made it so simple, like it's an ABC schedule. So you only go to the the stamp duty calculator, put the 2 million, then it will calculate for you the stamp duty. That stamp duty, there's something called an acknowledgement. That is what you pay at the bank. So now even KRA have made it easier for you. You don't need to work at the bank. You can do it in your M-Pesa, or you can do to bank to KRA. Stamp duty comes in two ways. If you live in a rural land, it's around 2%. But if you live in urban, I think it's 4%. Is it? I think I'm correct. But now it comes now, like when you're paying for that stamp duty, remember that stamp duty is the one who is buying. The person who is selling has to pay something called a CGT, capital gain tax. You cannot escape that thing, because also the taxman would need also his part of his collection. None of that, if it is not going to be done, the transfer of titles will be very challenging going to the buyer. So if anyone who wants to buy land, you have to know that the iTax, you must have that iTax. Don't use your relatives, because the title, when they're doing the transfer, it will go to the relative's name. And that relative, he can ruka you 6 feet. He says, I don't know you, whatever. That is what I'm saying, that if you know that you're in diaspora, it is not hard. Just go through the website. You'll see KRA call center. They are there 24 hours. They will guide you. Don't take them as an enemy. They are just trying to assist you. And if you know that you're in the diaspora and you want to purchase land, if you can have 50 million or 20 million, I know it would be hard paying for an air ticket coming to Kenya and come and look at that land. You come and scrutinize that land. Make sure that you have seen that beacon. You have seen the seller. And also, you have also scrutinized everything in that land, from the county and whether that rates have been paid. And make sure when you're leaving the country, you have made at least 50% or maybe 90%. Once you have the transaction which is halfway, you can return back and wait for the transaction to be completed when you're there. So it won't make any sense that you're saving so much money, but you cannot spare an air ticket to come home and you see that land. You can use your relative. He tells you, yes, this is the land. Then one day you decide to come for Christmas. You tell him,
they even take for you selfies in other people's land.
Oh, mtu wetu alizaa ng'ombe yangu ilianguka kwa mtaro, sijui nini. They give you such excuse. Then by the time unaenda kuangalia land, it is not your land. And this is what I'm saying. And I'm telling the guys in diaspora, it does not take you rocket science. Just pay for that air ticket. Come here in Kenya. Come and scrutinize that land. Do not use relatives. You can either get an agent to help you for that, but get a reputable agent. See these people from Kameme, they are selling land through the TV. You can get people, yes. You can get an agent who even you can get an advocate to do it for you. Because you see, as advocates, if we mess up or we have professional negligence with a client, we can be disbarred and you can never practice again, or your role of advocate, you have been struck. And we cannot risk doing that. And this is what I'm trying to tell you. If you know that very well that you are not well informed about PIN, KRA is there for you. Another thing, before I hand over to Enoch, remember when that land which you're paying, you're buying, but now you see now the government, you have that devolution and whatever. If you know you're in Kajiado make sure that when you go to that land, you have to go and know where the land consent board is. That yellow receipt, please try and have it. Because there are people who will tell you, there's no need of having land consent. You pay 10,000 shillings, they will sign something like that. Then what happened when it becomes a dispute? The dispute now, you've lost money, you've lost the land.
Stella, I know you want to maybe hand over to Enoch, and before you do that, you're talking of land consent, meaning that you are consenting on something, yeah? So what if these people normally have this county consenting that it's the county, they have to consent, yeah, okay?
So they have to be something called an LCB board.
Oh, I get you, I get you,
yes.
I get you. So in case of dispute, they'll say that, okay, this land was sold or this kind of transfers took place, yeah?
No, they only consent you are the owner of the land. This one has willed to sell the land to you, and there are no any outstanding rates or rent of everything. Then they give you that a consent. So you pay, I think is it 2,000? I don't know. You know our government, these days things are going up. You pay 2,000. Make sure when you pay that money, have that yellow receipt with you. If you have to give it to the advocate, give it to the advocate, but do not give it to a relative, because that will be the same document which will assist in making a transfer to the title from the vendor to the seller. If you know that you're married, you have to sign a spousal consent. If you're single, you also need to do a spousal consent. So a spousal consent comes like an affidavit. If Mr. Njoroge is married, the wife has to consent, yes, that my husband is selling this land at this agreed of amount. I have no issue, such things. If I'm single as Stella, I'll say I am a single mother. I purchased this land and this, I'm willing to sell, like that. So these documents, once you give them in the land control board, then it will be easier for them to transfer the ownership from the vendor ownership to the purchaser's ownership. Remember, not even forget.
I get you.
Yes, they also have to see whether you've paid your stamp duty, whether you have paid whether the vendor has paid the CGT. If the vendor has not paid CGT, the land will not be transferred to you. So you have to pressure the vendor to pay the CGT. So
just hold on there, Stella. We are coming back to you. Just hold on. You guys, we are really learning a lot, whereby even your spouse have to consent that you're selling land. So it means you cannot just meet somebody in the bar there, then you make agreement, you pay pesa, ukule, na wewe uende ufanye kila kitu, useme shamba ni yangu, bibi hakuja na shamba. That is so interesting. That is really, really, really interesting. And you can only get such kind of information in this kind of show. When you tune in, each and every Sunday, we'll be tackling matters to do with the land. We'll ensure that you get enlightened, you know what you've been doing wrong, and you start doing what you should be doing right. And we'll also be connecting you with people who can be able to give you assistance. As you can see, we're having Stella. Stella is so experienced, and she really assisted, and I know she's really been involved in such kind of transactions. And as an advocate, they're the ones who are going to help you. They're the ones who will stand there when somebody will want to take that land away from you. And also with me is Enoch. Enoch, I told you, apart from being a teacher and being an expert in land matters, is also human rights defender, because he works with the Kenya Human Rights Commission, and his role is to give you the defense that you need. His role is to ensure that you don't get exploited. And with us also is Reverend James. James is the head of Kenyan Mission in the United States of America. Having experience in the land issues, being one of the family administrators, he understands this. So keep it here. If you've not subscribed to our channel, ensure that you subscribe to our channel so that whenever we go live, you get notified. And also remember, the other days we also do politics. We have a political show that takes place from 10 p.m. up to past midnight every day, except for Sunday, which we decide to do the Lord's work. Nobody's charging you. You only need to charge your phone or charge your laptop, then have your internet, then come with your ears and listen. You can send your questions, your comments on the comment section, then we'll be able to read them together. I can see good here. It is good to see you. My friend family has this land between Roma Park and Migori. She bought part of the land with the river flowing through. They gave her the deeds, and when she turned up on this land, there was nothing for her. I think, Stella, you've talked of that, and maybe for clarification, Agudia is saying that the family bought some land between Roma Park and Migori, and part of the land was having the river flowing, yeah? So she was given the title deed, then when she turned up on this land, she found that there was nothing for her. So what can she do? Because she lost most of her money. So I'll an opportunity to answer that. Enoch, I know you're also at a position to respond to that. Then Stella Pia, kuna request. I hope you are able to check on the private chat there. You know, you are a regular panelist here, and sometimes unaendanga unapotea, tunashindwa tutakupata aje. So on the comment, on the private chat, not on the comment section. So on the private chat pale utaacha tu the contact, so that in case stima imepotea huko, naweza kufuatilia tupatie solar. So you can respond to that maybe in a nutshell. Then we also get to hear from Enoch tukiendelea.
Bwana coordinator, I think probably some people are not muted. Maybe that's why we're having some of that.
Oh, okay. I think maybe if you're not speaking, you can be able to mute. So, Stella, before maybe you respond to that, let me start with Enoch. He had some internet issues, connection issues before. So, staki kumfungia, wacha ajaribu kushughulikia. Then, because you're the one who talked to you, were the one who told us about this issue. Ufai kununua shamba mali kuna mto ama mali kuna river, inamaanisha hiyo ni mali ya serikali. I've never known, you know, where I come from, we have some land that extends to a stream, and nimekuwa nikipiga hesabu that one of these fine days naenda kuweka kapak pale nifugefuge nyoka and such kind of things. I didn't know that land kumbe sio yangu. Juu sijawahi ona mtu akiclaim, but our land extends past that place. So Mr. Enoch, karibu.
I'm trying.
Yes, you're
Okay.
good to go.
Yeah, thank you. Kindly, I wanted to emphasize on LCB, Land Controls Board, because majorly hapo ndio watu wengi wanaepa na wanapoteza shamba, because at the end of the day unakuta mtu ukiwa na pesa, mtu anakuambia give me money, just wait for the title deed. You just hand over your money in just a few days, mtu anakuja na title deed, unasema now, well, sasa mimi niko sawa, mtu hawezi kunigusa hapa. But when a dispute will arise, unaulizwa, kindly give us the Land Controls Board minute. You find you have nothing, and that's how you lose your land. Unaambiwa au kupita njia mzuri. So a Land Controls Board is very, very mandatory. Na unajua ni pesa kidogo sana unalipa pale. But kwa sababu you don't have the information of how much money you are supposed to pay, sasa somebody takes advantage. Anakuambia just give me the little you have, maybe hata anakuitisha more. Wewe unapeana tu bora upate title deed. So it is very important for you to get that document. Kwa sababu from the Land Controls Board ndio wana consent. Sasa unaenda kufanya everything in the land. Kama hauna hiyo, hauna receipt, hauna nothing, hawajaweka minutes, haujafanya chochote, you have only given somebody money to go and buy some food, alafu wakunya na pia kidogo, mtu arudi kwa nyumba akae, alafu we baadaye you have wasted a lot of resources. So from the Land Control Board nilikuwa nasema, unapomaliziwa kutoka pale sasa, you are now free to go. Na usipewe title deed alafu useme umeenda. Lazima ufanyiwe what we call a search again, so that iende na credentials ya title deed yenye umepewa, so that in next time ukitaka kufanya anything pale lazima unatoa search. Kwa hivyo you must ensure that every detail is clear to you. Mambo na ribellion land, I think Stella will handle on that. Mambo na maji wakati umenunua hapo, Stella will handle on that. So my plea to each and every person, we have so many people who act as brokers. Na ndio wamefanya watu wengi wameumia. We have seen people dying. Like now today, I wanted to settle a certain issue about land. Ni shamba yenye haikuenda succession, but what they have the title deed. Walikuja wakafika hapa kwa lands, mama anakuja, bwanaka alikuwa amekufa. Kumbe kuna mtu alikuwa amenunua kwao, alipoona mzee wake amekuwa mgonjwa, wako umempea title deed, akaona mzee anakufa. Yeye alienda mbio mbio, akaenda hapo akafanya poroto yake, akawaletea title deed, anamwambia chukua hii yenu na mimi nimechukua yangu. Sasa mama anamuuliza, where did you get the title? Wewe usijali, mimi nimemaliza, wewe chukua yako. Sasa mama mzee amekufa recently, ndio ameenda na title, anataka abadilishe kuja kwa jina yake. Wamezoeshwa ukimaliza unaenda tu unabadilishiwa. Sasa mama ndiye ameitishwa hiyo title deed, akaambiwa hii kitu uko nao ni fake. Eti fake aje? No. Kuangalia, there is no signature, nobody signed. Sasa yote imekuwa cancelled. I've assisted them. Now sasa wanaenda succession, mama mwenyewe anaenda succession, irudi kwa jina lake through succession through the court. So in this country, we have to be very careful in terms of process. Not having the title, the process matters a lot.
Let me make a comment, Bwana Leo, and what Stella has said and what Enock has said. And we want to make a comment to our viewers and say we are not saying our relatives are bad. That's not the message. Don't hear what we are not saying. Just hear what we are saying. We are not saying relatives are bad or other those people. And I don't. What we are saying is that we need to do something I always call trust but verify. You trust but verify. When we were having a construction, family construction in Ngumba Estate, we trusted relatives, but we regretted because we had to repeat a lot of many places of that building. Some of them walls were falling off because mchanga na simiti ilikuwa mixed, so the walls could not hold. But those are relatives. So that's why we had to do it ourselves. And Stella, thank you for talking about 1,000 or 700 when the tickets are cheaper. That is more. That is even more important. Just buying that ticket of 1,000, even if it is 1,500, than losing 50,000 or 100,000 or 1 million or 2 million. Or worthy of a property. And I wish I could just pick you up and bring you here in a seminar and repeat that as many times as you can and write it down on a chalkboard or whatever it is, because that's where we are losing a lot of our people here are losing a lot of properties. And the other dilemma we have, which I don't expect you have any answers to that, because it has to do with immigration, is we have people here in diaspora who have no papers. In other words, they have no status. They're not able to return home and be able to come and be able to sort out the issues of their land. Maybe their parents have died or they're the only ones remaining and other things. That's where the trust of somebody like you, Stella, or somebody like you, Enock, is important. You are on this show displaying your trust to us. And in fact, Afiq is doing a very good job, because now I will hold Stella to her word. I will hold Enock to his word. This is what you told us. I want you now to help me in this situation. I'm this far, but I would like your help in this advice and in doing these things. And so you can see the importance of this talk today. Because now I wouldn't have known Enoch, I wouldn't have known Stella. But these are people I would like to meet, even next month when I come to Kenya. I'm coming in Kenya. Because these are the people I could refer anybody from here in diaspora and be able to say, this is a person I know. This is a person who can hold him or her to her word, that when they tell you control board is important, that's exactly what they mean, and so on. So thank you, Bwana Coordinator, for allowing me.
Thank you, Reverend. Okay, Stella, I have a question for you. I'll read it, then I'll try to summarize it so that you can get it well. I think I've already gotten it. And I know many never knew that you are a lawyer or you are an advocate. You know, when people make this kind of political arguments, people don't tend to know maybe somebody beyond the argument. I've seen somebody in the comment section there saying that, oh, I didn't know Stella was an advocate. They used to interact with you during the Mtembei debates, and sometimes it would be so heated. And you know the Mzalendo, the kind of the debates that were there until you get mad. And that is what happens, guys, when it comes to politics. Politics do draw some emotions or some energy out of us. But when we meet besides politics, you'll find that we are different people that you see when we are discussing matters of politics. And that is why here at Afiq, we decided that on a Sunday, we put politics aside so that we can be able to see the real individuals who normally participate in this show. So we are glad we are having Stella here. So whenever you're having anything, I think, Stella, this one is directed to you. Because you, as a legal expert, this person who is in diaspora, he or she was sending money to the relatives to buy land, and the money was sent. You know, right now you can send wave or M-Pesa or something like that. So now the relatives have decided to turn against her. The relatives have decided to turn against him. Now he can't prove the money she sent with M-Pesa. I think she can be able to get the M-Pesa. So what do you do in this case as a legal representative? How do you help this situation? Mtu amekaa huko akitengeneza pesa, anatumanga na M-Pesa, anaambiwa tunanunua hii, lakini ukifika venye uliambiwa eti wameenda matanga, wameenda hivi, lakini these are not reaches a point. These are your relatives. They now turn against you, wanakwambia hey, sisi haukutupatia pesa. But the only proof you have is the M-Pesa statement. Is there any legal action that can be taken so that this money be recovered? Utapata kama walinunua pengine shamba, walijiandikisha kwa majina yao. So in this case, I know you charge some legal fee, but now, just for the sake of our viewers, is there anything that can be done?
Okay, I've understood what you were saying, that she had been sending money for the relatives to purchase a land. So on my end, if she wants to claim that money, she has to go through the small claims courts. Because you see now, the thing is, at least our judiciary has been divided. In a long time, we used to go for the civil matters. And now it has been made easier for people to ask for small monies. I think it's from, if you help me, Enoch, is it from 100,000? I think it's from 1,000 to maybe 10 million. No, maybe 10 million. That goes to the small claims court. So what she's going to do, she has to come to Kenya, or she can also appoint an advocate from the diaspora. At least we have a system called an e-filing. She can also do a police report, but that is the most important thing. She has to come here, do a police report so that she gets an OB. Then from there, we are able to do filing for the small claims court. So she has to put the documentary evidence of the M-Pesa statement and also the conversation on WhatsApp or text, because I know voice cannot be recorded. Another thing, what I can tell her, I can blame her from this. If you knew the person who was selling for you the land, why did you not send that money to that person? Why did you use a relative? Anyway, I'm not going to blame her, but at least she has learned her lesson. But now in the issue of her claiming that land which the relative have bought, it is hers, it does not hold water. If she meant saying that she did it on goodwill, and maybe the relatives would come and say, no, you promised me to buy me as a gift, or you promised me once you leave, you are going to refund me. There are those type of excuses. But you see now the judiciary is gray. So it is her story against the whoever, the relative. Another thing I also want to emphasize, Enoch, to Leo, before I hand over to Enoch, there is another thing I need to tell the diaspora people. If you know that your father or your mother land is under a succession, or you've lost a relative, or who is the matter is still on a succession, please take your time to make sure that the succession process and the petition process has been completed, unless you get that thing called certificate of confirmation of grant, which identifies that you are the siblings, that you are the surviving, or you're a surviving spouse. A relative cannot be put in the petition. There is something called a letters of administration. If your relative died without a will, you'll have to take your time. You come here, you have the chief identify that your husband died. That chief's letter holds water in court. It will show that who is the surviving of the spouse and who is the surviving children of the parents. A relative cannot get that land because your father owed him money and whatever. If your father had done a will, please take your time. You come to Kenya. It takes you like a year or two. You just come for the first succession step. You fill those papers. The thing is, right now, our constitution, our judiciary is not accepting DocuSign or e-signing. You must put it on a wet signature. It is not, we are trying to save billions because you want to save 100,000 not to come to Kenya. But I'm trying to tell you, it will be easier for me as an advocate and you as the petitioner. It will be easier for the succession process for me and for the judge to run it faster. But if you come and give me excuses that, oh, I cannot come, I'm giving a wet signature, I'm sending you DHL, you cannot afford to pay DHL, or I'm supposed to send you letter to DHL, you don't give me the correct information. It only if you can come for a burial, you can identify an advocate to do those things immediately. The chief will do that letter immediately. The only thing they identify with the chief, they will only need the IDs of the surviving siblings, the surviving children, or a spouse and the children. If they are underage, one representative, either your brother-in-law or your sister-in-law. Then they would need the burial permit, and they need to have the advert of the newspaper and the obituary. That thing, it will have only the chief to give you that letter within 2 minutes, an original letter. If it is a will, it must be an original will. The original will must have the person who was not coerced. When he made that will, he was not forced. Remember, the will can only be recognized by court if this person was willing to will the children XYZ. Remember, you cannot leave another child to make the other one to be maybe a beneficiary. The court will you can also go to court and dispute on that will. You say that your father was coerced. If it is someone who's elderly, or maybe someone who is an army or a police, or those people who work in I've seen someone who works in MSF. There's that something which we call an oral will. It only holds for 3 months. So once he dies, the will can be, the oral will, it shows that he died in the line of duty. But you cannot go and hold a will. Like I know in America, you can do a virtual will. You can do a recorded will, and you can put it maybe for a certain period of time, or 2 years or 3 years. But in Kenya, it only lasts for 3 months. So if you're a cancer survivor, or maybe you're in an hospital bed, that will is not going to be taken seriously by the court. It would say maybe you are under duress, or maybe you are coerced. The other thing I really need to also emphasize, if you know you're in diaspora and you have bought land and you have put a relative in that land, and you have not even given proper instruction, because he'll come and tell you, oh, unajua sasa nilifukuzwa na bwana, sina mahali pengine kwenda na watoto, si unipatie tu hata kama ni kalanda, at least nikae hapo. No problem. You make sure, if you know that you're a man, okay, I'm emphasizing this because there's no another child here. If you know that you're a man and you're giving your relative a man that land, na umemuundia, make sure asikuje na bibi kwa hiyo nyumba. Because years pass by and year pass by. You find yourself for 10 years, that person has stayed there. The children have outgrown there. And those children know that that is their home. You cannot kick that person out. Even you go to court, the court will say that is adverse possession. He was not interfered. He was not harassed. And that was his home. And he enjoyed it. If you know, like, if a man would, even like, if you bring a relative and you have put maybe a small structure, apanda mboga huko kando kwa nini, kwa hiyo shamba, just know that is a danger you're giving. If you know that you have a land which is idle, put a Maasai person and make sure and you give them, even if it is a written contract from you and the chief and this person, that you are there as a watchman and I can throw you out anytime. But make sure you need to know the timelines. If you
No, Stella.
That person, yeah.
Stella, just a minute. That is so interesting. The one you're saying, Masai. Okay.
Yes.
We have those Kenyans, not only the ones when in diaspora. You know, I come from Luo Nyanza, whereby you find that you are staying in Nairobi, but you have your home back there. So this home or this kaboma, after building your house, you put some Masai. So you always go there as a visitor, and some don't even go there. Like a Masai will have to stay there. They marry there with their family. They stay there for like even 10 years. So do you want to say we have to give them an agreement showing that they are watchmen there?
You need to tell the Maasai person, I am putting you as a watchman. Do not bring your wife and do not bring girlfriends and na usipande mboga.
Stella.
Because ukijaribu
Stella, there's a question. There's a question.
Let me finish. I'm not finished. I'm trying to put
Ngoja kidogo, Stella.
Okay.
Bwana coordinator, instead of using Maasai, because this is a national thing, let's put a security there.
Okay, security.
It could be
whatever
it could be anybody, because if you use Maasai, we could be getting ourselves in trouble.
Okay, sorry, I apologize. Maybe I've ruffled some feathers.
Yeah, so we know what you're talking about.
Apologies. Yes. I think we know, but now for the sake of the community, and I get it now.
I think this one will go to Enoch, but let me finish my point. If you know very well that you have a land in maybe Busia, or maybe you have a land in Nyeri, whatever, and you have put a relative or a friend in that house, make sure that you have to tell him that you are there and anytime you can throw him out or her out. If you don't do that and he assumes that place for more than 10 years or 5 years, you go to court, the court will tell you that you never interfered with this person. He has the rightful of staying there, and that is adverse possession. That means your land is lost. And this is what I tell people. If you know that you have land, you better make sure that you have done a will, or you do that land instead of putting, if you don't want your wife to be in that land or your children, put that land in a company, so that when this person is trying to sue you, he won't sue you, he'll sue the company. But once he sues the company, you cannot sue a company, you have to sue the owner. So you be the interested party. But remember very well, do not put someone in your vacant land. Because as time goes and familia ime, na watoto watajua uko ni nyumbani, uwezi warusha nje. So you make sure unamwambia, ama you've brought a security, you have to tell the village chief or maybe those guys of nyumba kumi, mimi nimeleta security wangu ako hapa. Anytime this security you've just seen that amepanda mboga, you need to throw him out. I'm not being inhuman. It's like me, I'm coming
Stella,
on legal.
you're not being inhuman. You see, Stella, I agree with you. What you're saying is so helpful, and these kind of cases are there. But there are people who've lost their land to strangers who are not even family members, and the strangers have gone to court. I saw it in my village, and the old women there will cry and they will say, "Sheria nimbaya inafanya tunapoteza," not knowing that these are things that could have been avoided. So it is good that you're now telling us here. We are getting to know something called advanced whatever. Yeah. So maybe as you proceed, there is somebody who is just calling. I think he wants to ask some questions and see if I can be able to put it on a speaker to ask the question. Hello?
Maybe Enock wants to add something. Let him add first.
Hello? Hello? Yes. Yes. Yes, I can hear you. Proceed. Okay.
Yes, I bought land. And I was given a share certificate. When I was given share certificate, the lady of whom I bought the land with died after some time. How can I get my title?
So you were given.
I have the share certificate, and we are a group of people who bought land in this particular area. Sometimes in an area in Utawala.
All right. So, Sarah, I don't know if somebody got the question. This is it. He bought land. And when he bought land, they bought land, I think, as a group. They were given share certificate. I don't know share certificate, maybe you know. Then after that, the lady who sold the land to them died before they got the title. So how can they get their title? And
Enock, would you like to answer that or should I answer?
Enock, somebody buys land, they get a share certificate, then the seller dies. How do they get the title now?
Okay, if the seller died and the seller did the seller has the title deed?
In this case, it seems when the seller died, nobody is able to trace. Like, you know, when you places like Utawala, we meet in Nairobi, we agree. What seller was telling us that we failed to involve the legal experts, so we failed to involve the lawyers and the legal representatives. Nile tumekutana, tumeelewana, and we see, okay, you're somebody who is good, we've been neighbors, you start doing the process. Then after that, something happens. I know most of it inakuanga intentional. The family or the close relatives will not agree, will not tell you the truth that, okay, Shamba documents, they will tell you, we don't know about it, we don't know about this thing. So that is how they normally behave. CATV, the owner akikufa, they cannot be able to trace the documents. They can be able to trace the documents, but you know, we are in Kenya. These guys will never tell you the truth that, oh, hii shamba ya sistangu title ilikuwa hivi. So they also want to take an advantage whereby mtu si ashakufa na alikuwa kwa process ya kuuza shamba na hakumaliza, so kwa nini tukamilisha? So in such a case, what do you do? Like, okay, he sent a text, I bought land in Utawala and we were given share certificates. The seller was the owner of the land with the mother certificate. Then the land had the title deed but with the lady's name. So the mother certificate, but huyu akakufa. So the person who is having the mother certificate, I don't know how do they go about it now? Because it's the case hata familia yake, the kids will deny, wakasema hawajui hiyo maneno. What will you do?
Number one, is that land, was it for that woman?
Yes, the woman was the yes.
If the land was for that lady, that means the beneficiary or the administrators, they have to finish the process of the succession, so that once the succession is done, the title goes to the children. Then the children have to hand over the land to that that property to the people who bought that land. But now, since it is a very crucial issue here, now this one they have to go to court. So they have to sue the administrators, where the court will try and direct the administrators that to file the letters of administration if she died without a will. But if she had died with a will, they'll go do a grant of probate. So the administrator will be told by the court that the process of the succession has to be finished. Then these people now they can sue the administrators, and they have to show they have to show the documentary evidence. Was there a sale agreement? Was there the stamp duty being paid? Were there any rates outstanding which they paid? They need also to see the conversation. And this is what I tell people. Don't see that lawyers are here for pocket issues. We are here to help you. If you can afford to buy a 10 million land and you cannot afford to pay 150 legal fees for me, and you pay me the 70,000 for disbursement, it will kill that information. It will kill that anxiety for you. Let us do the heavy load for you. Now, that share certificate, which is saying that is null and void. If you go with it to land, they will tell you to do it. You know, share certificate only comes, and I need to emphasize this. If you know that you're buying an apartment, that is when you're given a share certificate. That share certificate, it shows you that apartment which you're having, you are entitled to have amenities. But before then, there's something called a sectional title. This one will come much later, because right now we are into land. But remember, also people who are purchasing properties like houses and apartments, they have to be very keen. They have to be very keen. Now, the person who was saying that the woman had sold them the land and they were given the share certificate. The thing is, they have to go back to that land, and then they have to go to court so that the court gives the citation for the administrators to file letters of administration. Once the succession matter has been concluded, now the administrators can sue. I mean, now the group can sue the administrator to give them the land. But now that is subject if there is any documentary evidence, whether that money was paid in full or maybe there was a balance. And we also need to know whether
they have, this is what he's saying. The land had a title deed, but with the lady's name, then the lady did not have children or family that they know, but there was a sales agreement.
Or she was a single person. You go to the parents. If you are a single person, you go to the parents. Or they can go to court and tell the court that we were purchasing this land, but the owner died. But somehow, there's someone who has filed the letters of administration. So when they do the search, and that is where I'm emphasizing, that's why the PIN comes with all your information. Because that PIN, it will have the phone number, and it also have the email, and it also have the next of kin. Or maybe this woman had a next of kin somewhere. This next of kin will be sorted out. Then you'll be told this woman had already sold land to us, but she died. Then you'll be like, no, me, I was just a friend. I can tell you where the family is. Now the family can be told by the court, you have to come to court and file the letters of administration. So that this woman is owing is owing other people money. Or even the family can be told the succession to be concluded, then the land is sold, then they are refunded back their money. But that one is a bit difficult because the justice system is very slow, especially on the issue of the family matter. Maybe someone would be there. Okay, you see, but judges are very keen. They can say, okay, fine, you bought it from her. So what evidence do you have? I paid this into her M-Pesa, those things you get. Then they'll be told, okay, fine. Because obviously when you pay in the bank, also the bank has next of kin. So the bank can be told by the court, the bank can go to the court and ask, there's a next of kin. I mean, there's a next of kin, and we need to have someone to be an administrator of this account. Sorry, there's a beneficiary. There's a big difference between an administrator and a beneficiary. A beneficiary is the one has been bequeathed or given. An administrator, you are just an overseer. An overseer. So you can not touch money on anything. So now, when the bank goes, and then the bank identifies there is a next of kin, then this other person, the one who bought the land, can be told, now you can go to court and sue this person. But you cannot sue a dead person. You have to sue the administrator. I think Enock can add something.
That is clear. Maybe as I welcome Enock to summarize it. This is what I got from your statement, that in this case, when you are doing a search, there is this thing called the KRA PIN. And in that search, it attaches your PIN, and it also attaches the next of kin. So in case, maybe like in this case, they're claiming she was 100-year-old, or something like that. So in case you die and we cannot be able to trace you, we don't know your family, we'll go back to the ministry or to the land, whatever. And from the land, they'll be able to identify this land belongs to so and so, and this person was listed as next of kin. So from that point, they'll be able to follow up with the next of kin if I did get you right. Because according to him, he's saying that they were told to form a welfare group by one of the representatives. So they have a welfare group. So what next? I think welfare group is just, you don't need to form welfare group, because when you bought the land, you have the sales settlement and everything. And the same way Stella said, the land ministry have got all the records. If the land is under my name, obviously I have to put a next of kin. So if you cannot trace me, then they'll be able to go for the next of kin, and the next of kin will be sued to go and apply for the letters of administration. Then from then, you'll be able to follow up legally. And that is just to summarize what Stella said. So let us get maybe some additional information from Enock.
Yeah, thank you. What I can say is that, as Stella said, actually, when you have bought land and the person you have bought land from has died without giving you the title deed, without signing for you the title deed, the only option is succession. Only that. Once you go for succession route is when you can get back your land, because you have the documents. As long as you have the agreement of the land that you bought, or any other transaction you did with that person. So you go for succession. Unajua tuko na process kubwa hapo, lazima utafute watu wao ni nani, uende uangalie who was next of kin, ndio mupate. And if they refuse to come, that's why the lawyers are there to file a citation, wanaitwa kotini, so that waulize, why don't you want to do this? Wanaambiwa na koti wafanye, in order for each and every person mwenye alikuwa na share pande hiyo apate share yake. So if unfortunately that person has died, like the one my brother who was just called to the studio, kindly let's make a follow-up to know exactly, because there is a mother title. You go to the Minister of Land, you get a search, and then you make a follow-up to see whether you can get the next of kin in order, or the processes of the court will be followed. You will get everything you bought.
Thank you very much. And to the viewers, if you're joining us now, this is Afiq 24 Hours TV, and today we have a special edition. We call it Dr. Shamba. So Dr. Shamba, why do we call it Dr. Shamba? We call it Dr. Shamba because it's here is the place that we cure all your land matters. Here is where we unlock the land dilemma that we have in Kenya. And you know, if you look at 10 people, you'll find that 6 out of them are having land issues. Either you want to buy land, either you've sold the land, or somebody have taken land away from you. Their family is outside there. Maybe their parents died when they were young, but there's that land that legally belongs to them. They've never known that they can go go, or they've never known how they can go and claim this land. Maybe your mom was married somewhere, you were born there, then your mom akatoka na wewe akaenda akaoleka kwingine, na huko mali ulikuwa babako tena akakuja akapass. There's land there that belongs to you. The only thing is that you've never known how to go and claim that land. That is why we bring experts here and we discuss matters land. Hiyo ndio kwa maana tunasema kwa this is Dr. Love. So as we take a short break, I just want to give you a video to tell you why you need to do due diligence so that such kind of things doesn't happen to you. Just have a look at this video so that it serves as a warning to you that if you're not careful with this land issue, one of these fine days, utakuwa nadhani umelala ndani ya nyumba umelijenga na pesa yako, kumbe shamba ni la mwenyewe.
Lands Cabinet Secretary, that is Alice Wahome, says the government will not be involved in the city land dispute between the Kirima family and Njiru residents. Addressing the media at her office in Nairobi, CS Wahome said the court ruling on the matter that gave residents of East Riverside Drive in Njiru until December 31st is final, and land records have proven the land still belongs to the Kirima family. An attempt to have the court order suspended failed yesterday, and Mirimuoki reports that CS Wahome is urging the settlers to negotiate with the Kirima family or leave as the court order stipulated.
The Ministry of Lands and by extension the government will not dip at all in the murky waters of the land dispute between the Kirima family and residents of Choka, Mihango and Njiru. A court recently ruled that the illegal inhabitants must vacate the land by December 31st. Land CS Alice Wahome has quashed any hopes of the government coming to the rescue of hundreds of settlers in the Kirima land who now find themselves facing possible eviction. The government saying official land records show the land rightfully belongs to the family of former Starehe MP, the late Gershon Kirima.
The family of Kirima has been in court with certain persons who possibly claim an interest in the same land, and there is a judgment of the High Court which has now given an indication or a clear indication that the land, as per our records, belong to Kirima. We have received a lot of inquiries whether there is a possibility or consideration by the government to buy the land or to settle people who are living on the land. We have no such plans. The land belongs to Kirima. The government has nothing to do with any occupation on that land.
Njiru residents occupying the land under dispute had earlier on written to the DCI to investigate the ownership titles presented by the Kirima family in court, and also appealed to the government to help them resolve the matter to avoid possible eviction from the 800-acre of land. Wahome has advised the residents to obey the court document and start making plans to move from the disputed land.
It has taken 10 years for it to be decided. The judgment has given a deadline of vacant possession or people living on the land to leave by December 31st.
All right, thank you guys. We are still dealing with this issue of land. Dr. Mashamba, madaktari wa mashamba ndio wako hapa. So I'll start with you, Stella. You've watched that video. The land issue has taken 10 years. So you've been in the legal department. Why is it that this kind of cases, when you want to solve land disputes, why does it take a long period in court, like 10 years? You're telling me 10 years. What happens to me who was there illegally? Or does it encourage that I can just go encroach into your land, then I know I will just stay there for 10 years. But after all, after 10 years, hata kama nikaplot nilikuwa nimejenga, nitakuwa nimesharudisha pesa ama nitakuwa nimejipanga. So why does it take this long? Or what do people advise people to do when it comes to solving land disputes? Najua Stella ametoka kidogo lakini anarudi, but Enoch, you can tackle that. Why do we have to wait all this long in solving these land disputes? And Is it necessary, or are there any other ways of solving this kind of disputes that can take shorter time than going the court's way? Mr. Enock.
What makes it to take too long in court is because of evidence. You know what it is with evidence. Sometimes we request people or we advise people to go for mediation, but once mediation has failed, it has to go for litigation in court. And when you see the case has taken long in court, it's because every now and then somebody's bringing new evidence, and the court has to rely on that evidence because we want to by yote. That's why it always takes time. But at the end of the day, justice is served.
All right, that sounds great that because of the evidence that is involved, and when the panelist was speaking, you heard that like somebody was talking of something called succession, that you have to bring, I don't know, your uncle, you have to bring so and so was married here, you have to bring so and so. So collecting all this kind of evidence takes time. The same way when we were looking at succession, we realized that for you to actualize succession, it is not a walk in the park. You can't just walk in the lands ministry or in the lands board and come out that, okay, succession has been activated, because you have to collect some IDs. There are some relatives who will tell you, oh, me, I don't want to give my IDs. There are some communities that believe that girls should not be given land. But the girls, you tell them that, okay, I want to do something with the land, then I need your ID. Then they will be like, no, why do you have to involve me? This is a main issue. So such kind of things are causing these delays. So that is why you people, we advise that we need to ensure that we do everything possible so that we don't reach at a point whereby we're having a dispute that will have to take us through a court process. So Stella, the question that I was asking by the time you were dropped is, why do we have to take all this long? And as a lawyer, what will you advise people outside there? I have a land dispute. What is the best way or the fastest way or the easiest way to solve this issue without, imagine waiting for 10 years for you to occupy your land. It is your land. Somebody is there, you know very well it is yours. 10 years is more than enough. Something can happen. You can even die without even investing here. If you had money, these 10 years, I believe you'll be paying lawyers each and every time, and you'll be traveling. If somebody is abroad, you'll have to be traveling to appear physically in court. So what advice can you give people?
Or even in this case of 10 years, or even in this case of these people being told to leave after 10 years. And Stella told us, don't be careful when you allow somebody to stay in your land for 10 years or 12 years, because it will be very hard to evict them. Now, what is it that the court has found to be able to get these people out of the Kirima's land? And they have been there for 10 years. In fact, to me, when I look at that whole place, where are these people going to go? Only maybe the mediation here is let those people buy that land to the Kirima family so that they can stay there. That kind of, Stella, help us.
Okay, you're good.
Okay.
No, you've
So I'm saying the issue of the Kirima, number one, everybody in this country knew. When Kirima died, people knew. And one thing when the court saw, that people became ignorant and brokers started, and city fathers, if you know you are in Nairobi, you know what is the city fathers. They took advantage of Kirima's land because, number one, if you do not do your due diligence, especially, okay, like there's something which you say that you pay the rent or the rand rates. Every time you pay your rand rates, every time you are updating your status of your property. But now, since when this man died, and we never know whether he had 4 wives, 5 wives, 6 wives, and I will take this to account, and I'm blaming you men. If you know very well that you're having 4 to 5 wives, why can't you do a will? It doesn't mean that if I'm telling you to do a will, you're going to die tomorrow. No, you're doing a will to secure your future and your properties. so that you're also avoiding any unforeseeable circumstances that even people will come and say that no, that I was also a beneficiary of this land. And that is what I'm saying. Those security people, who you put them in that land, you are not going to throw them out. The law becomes gray because everybody is human. People have built lives there. Now, if you go back to that from Munjiru to Utawala to Mehango, ask each and every person who is staying there if they have a genuine title. I believe they don't have. They have share certificate. That one by law.
Actually, Stella, in Nairobi, I've been. Actually, I'm a neighbor at Jiru. I stay in Nairobi. I stay at a place called Kangundo. There's an estate called Obama. It's also similar to the Jirus and the Kirima Brady that people talk about. In Nairobi, they don't tell you title. They will tell you in Nairobi hakuna title. They have something called allotment number. But that is what the city fathers say. The city fathers will tell you that in Nairobi we have allotment numbers.
It is so surprisingly, and your MP is Babu Owino, a lawyer and an intellect. Let me tell you, if you go from Njiru, Mehango, Utawala, to up to Embakasi, the roundabout, do you know that is where Kerema's land is, where pipeline is? All that is Kerema's land. So if you ask for those people to give me the title. And in fact, Kerema did not have a title. He had a certificate of lease. Remember, certificate of lease, that is the land which you have leased with the government for 99 years. But now I think that was abolished. Is it true, Enoch?
That is true.
Enoch.
At least that is, yes.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
when you go each and every, the 99 rule was abolished. So yes. What is happening? The Kerema, when they were fighting, even right now, if we check the certificate of lease, maybe they have only remained 20 years. It remains to be 99 years. Let's be honest with each other. If you go to that land, no one has a title. The court has the right to throw you out. You have seen the CS of lands. He has put herself away from that situation. Then Babu Owino comes and said that no, this is not Kerema's land, it is some Italian name. You remember, Enoch, what Babu Owino was saying?
That when someone the land belongs to Italian.
You remember? No, Enoch, you remember when Babu Owino said that it belonged to a certain Italian person.
A certain Muzungu, yeah, he said about that person.
But now when they went back to the court, the Muzungu had sold that land, not sold that land, had gifted Kerema that land. So there was a gift inter vivos transfer. So that land belongs to Kerema. So now the thing is, brokers and the city fathers took advantage. They started getting people, especially they were prone to these women called chama. So they knew that women are very vulnerable and having their own property, because women and property was not even respected by law those days. But right now, a woman has a right to have his own property and not tell the husband. So what happened? A group of chama women, they go and buy maybe 6 acres of land. 1 acre removes how many plots? 9 plots. You do apartment. You're being told, no, there's a self-help group, will give you the share certificate, but the allotment, it is in the city council, not in the Ministry of Lands. So now, the thing is, the people became ignorant. And this is what we say, ignorant of the law is no defense. If you know that you are Jenga in that place, and that you're still paying rates, the county cannot refuse. Do they want to know that whether it is a genuine land or what?
And that one is the question that somebody is asking you, Stella. Somebody is asking you, can someone pay rates with a share certificate, or you need a title deed to pay rates? Because these people who pay rates, how do they normally pay rates and they don't have the title?
No, that is not a land. That's a scam. You must, because you see, you pay rates when you have the allocated LR number, land reference number. That is where you pay your rates, and that's where you pay your land rent. So share certificate, that one is just showing you that, oh, this is just to be holding on, will give you the title. Remember, share certificate, and I've emphasized again, this one is only applying those people who are buying apartments. And apartments are managed by management. So what happened, I think this should be the next topic, because I'm seeing a lot of diaspora people, when we try to advise them on buying apartments.
Stella, seriously, that one is going to form part of our next edition. That is next Sunday for my viewers. Actually, we planned to take an hour. We've doubled it. We are past 2 hours. So that one next Sunday is what we are going to tackle, so that those people in diaspora who are having some, actually everybody wants to own land, everybody wants to own property, and the talk of the city whenever you go is, I want to buy land, I want to buy land. This thing called land. Nowadays, people don't even talk of buying cars or buying any other thing, but they talk of buying land. I want to own land, I want to own land. And land has become so popular that whenever you get your money, hata pesa kidogo unauliza, hii inaweza nipatia shamba pale Karen? So such kind of questions. I think next discussion, we are going to look at how people should be able to maybe conduct themselves when they want to get these apartments. And specifically, those who are in diaspora, because right now the ones who are in Kenya wanalia uchumi ni mbaya, wale wako diaspora ndo wanaweza nunua property. So Stella, maybe as you finish on your point, there's somebody who asked this question, anataka umwelezee, what is this city fathers? Ni kama he's not getting, he's been following, but anaona ni kama yeye ndio apati city fathers ni nani. So maybe if you can tell them what city fathers are.
Corruption in government offices.
Na watoto wao ni nani? If they are fathers.
Watoto wao ni brokers. You see now, you go to, because you see that these people, they've been there and they know the properties which are vulnerable with succession or maybe disputes. So they take the advantage of the guys who are ignorant. So they say they get brokers. Oh, niko na kashamba pale, tuko na ka union mahali, tunataka kuuza shamba hivi and hivi. So now such people, they're the ones who retrieve the file from lands or the kanjo of certain county. So they will see that this land is very vulnerable and no one has touched it, and it has maybe a case issue, maybe in court, or maybe there's a dispute over civil or whatever. They take advantage of the vulnerable, and the people who are very vulnerable are women. Women, and in fact, even the next topic we'll have to talk here, women and property and matrimonial causes. Then before even after the issue of buying apartments, we need to talk you men and women, and especially our own, how do I put it? Our own conscience. We need to do wills. We need to do trust. We need to do wills. Because if you die without a will, you're leaving the family in shambles. These kids you are seeing there at Chokora, most of them, they were from rich families. But what happened? The father never took time to do the will. Why? Because he thought that if I'm telling the person to do a will, they think that I'm killing you. I am not killing you. I'm trying to protect you and to avoid any legal corridors of having the family to fight. Another thing, also when you're doing wills, at least your family is at peace. And also when you're doing wills, you cannot let the government decide for you how you're going to divide your estate. Because if you see there are people who fight for wills, for property, there is no will. Then the court is like, no, you come back again, you start having dispute, you object grants and what. Then the court gets tired. Then they are like, now, if you people, you have failed through the mediation, we are going now back to the court. We are going to divide this property. Kila mtu mukate nusu, mukate nusu, mukate nusu. They don't care whether you removed the big chunk, or you're the smaller chunk, or you're the drunk one, or the one who was successful, or the one who was illiterate. Maybe the illiterate, the father favored the illiterate, but he did not favor the educated one. Now the court decides for you. But if you're an heir of that estate, and before even you die, you really need to do your will or you need to do your trust. The will only comes in when you die, but the advantage of the will, it is contested. So maybe you, James, you know that you have one wife, but we don't know in Kenya you have another wife. What happens? There's a fight. But if you have a trust, you do not need to go through a probate process because you've already given out your wishes. You've decided my house in Karen goes to my first wife. My house in Kangemi goes to my second wife. The properties in Njiru, I've given my first daughter. The other properties in maybe in Narok and those whatever I've given everybody is satisfied. Everybody is satisfied. But when it comes to a will, you give your wife in Karen, then this other one is not satisfied, says no, the Karen house, no, because when he used to come to Kenya, I used to take care of him. Sorry to say, but it is in the public domain. You people remember Enock Agusa. You remember when he died? Everybody knew he had only one wife. Shock on people, kumbe he had another wife in the UK. So there's still a dispute. Now, when there's a dispute in a property or maybe in an estate, there's wanton loss. You cannot transact, you cannot gain, you cannot live in peace. You're paying advocates money going to court, going to court. Remember, even these judges are human beings. When they keep on saying, the estate of Leonyabe, this again, put it aside. You'll wait for mention and mention till you die. Then the other administrator is taken again. You fight because the sister-in-law started fighting. No, Leo was my husband. So do what? Now the sister-in-law starts fighting with your own siblings. So this is what I'm saying. The next whatever we should be talking about, wills and trust. And this one does not only fall only to men, even women. If you feel that you're not going to trust your husband with your property, please let your children understand that you've given, but leave your husband maybe with a property in Narok. For Nairobi, leave it for the children. Because even as mediators, we get tired when we do a mediation, then we sit down, we come up, then we tell the court they have resolved. Then what happens? Someone comes and spoils it. So me, the mediator, and Enoch will get money. So we don't care whether you'll go get pangas there and you kill yourself or you kunywa rat. That is not our problem. As we've been paid our fees and we are comfortable. So this is what we are saying, to avoid any uncertainty. If you know that you have any property or whatever, this is what I emphasize. Don't put it in your name, put it in a company so that the company can be held accountable of running that property. And that company, you should have also to put a director or do a shareholders agreement. If you feel that you cannot even trust your own wife, but you can trust your own children, then let the children run that property. But don't die when you're living grief and fights everywhere like the one for Kirema. Children were fighting from the first wife, second wife. We don't know whether he had 2 wives or 3 wives or 4 wives. Then the city fathers took advantage of their land. Now, whole and below, they went to mediator like Enoch. Enoch went and told the court, we have tried, what the court decides. Everybody is mukatenusu. Now, the family they started in dispute. Are we going to sell this land or are we going to leave it this land or are we going to rent those houses? Now, even people are left in limbo. If you bought that property maybe 20 years ago, maybe you bought it maybe 100,000 shillings. Now, if the valuer comes now from the government valuer, maybe they use their independent, but they come with the government valuer says it is 10 million. What are you going to do? Are you going to leave or are you going to pay? So those are the things which I think people have to kind of understand, especially when you're buying land. So you have to be very cautious. Don't buy land and get relaxed. If you know that you're buying land, especially for those people who are buying land for agricultural, you have to make sure that you have to show that that land is running. Don't leave that land. You've just put a beacon and forget. What happens if a neighbor encroaches?
So, Bwana
That is really great. So
that's very good, Stella, and that's really great. Well, you have mentioned my name a few times. I have a will. I have a will.
You're the elder.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm not complaining actually. I just wanted to say I have a will, and I have a relative who was
But
staying
Mr.
in.
Njoroge, a will is not enough. You also need to do a trust.
Of course, yes.
What about if you get sick? What happens?
Yes.
You need to have a power of attorney.
Exactly.
You need to have a financial power of attorney and a medical power of attorney, just in case you get a stroke.
Exactly.
Or maybe you're put in a life support machine. That thing should guide you. So that's what I'm saying. The will only act for you when you're dead. But the trust still runs when you're still incapacitated. So, for example, let's say Mr. Njoroge, you have apartments in Ruaka.
Yes. We call it here responsible.
You have apartments in
also administrator. Yeah.
Responsible?
Responsible party. Responsible party. RP.
Yes.
Responsible party.
So here in Kenya we call it a discretionary trust.
Yes.
So what I can say, a will is good, but you need to put something called an estate plan.
Yes.
So an estate plan, it gives you on how, you see the traditional way, like you used to go to court.
Yes.
Once you die, you go to court. Then once you go to court, now you go through the probate process. Yes. But if you arrange your documents in order, within a period of 1 year or 2 years, if no one who is going to object, you have your certificate of confirmation of grant. Now, this one will show how the beneficiaries, how they have divided or mode of distribution of your property or of your estate.
Kabisa.
So now they will enjoy the distribution. But if you have an estate plan where you have a trust which will guide you, tell you have to put your you see from the will, you give your wishes.
Yeah.
But from the estate plan, since it's like a company, you give your directives. Maybe you have a daughter, maybe in Canada, and maybe you want her to have to manage the Ruaka houses. Yeah. You understand?
Yeah.
So you put a director there.
Yes.
Remember, once you put her the director, you're still you're still on your in quote I can give you, like, you're already on your retirement because someone else is taking care of it. Then you can have a son. Then you say the son, maybe he can go manage maybe the Kangemi properties. Maybe you have maybe a big mall over there. Then you say every end of the year they should be given something called like a what do you call this thing? Like a bonus. You get, but you have given clear instructions. But let me tell you, do you know trust cannot disputed in court, because that is a wish which you have given. I mean, those are your directives which you have given. So all those directives, even someone goes and dispute, will say, no, the person who is a tester, who is you, the one who's holding the trust, he was in sane mind knowing that he gave the daughter the property in Ruaka, not the son. And you have to be very specific. If your son is there, you say maybe of all that money, what he's getting, it goes for the children's school fees or your grandchildren's school fees, or maybe they go for holidays and everything. Remember, you can also say that also your in-laws can only have a certain amount of managing. Like maybe your daughter-in-law cannot manage cannot manage the issue of money. It's only to be saying that if I want your grandchildren to go to this certain of school, they have to sit. It's like a company, what I'm trying to say. Even you go with it in court, no one can contest it. And you don't need to have to go to court sorry, the administrators or the beneficiary can't go to court because you have already given the directions. Even the property in Rwaka, you've already put your daughter, the title has your name and your daughter. So once you pass on, it remains with your daughter. And the one in Kangemi, you put your son. So you see, there's no need of going for a probate process because you've already sorted your estate. But a will can be contested. Maybe you have a company, you have maybe you have created a company with your friend or maybe your sister. Then what happens? The will has been read. They are not satisfied. They come to Enoch. They tell Enoch, this is unfair distribution. I was there. I'm the one who managed this property. I'm the one who was in this supermarket and what and what. And yet your will has specified that your daughter and your son are the beneficiary, and also your wife. You see, now that one, they go to court and dispute. So what happened? Maybe Enoch will do a mediation. Once he does the mediation and these parties are not satisfied, they go back to court. Now remember, you're paying Enoch so much money. The estate is paying so much money to Enoch. Now, going to court, and also the court, they have many matters. It is not only for estate of Njoroge. There are so many matters. So if the judge decides to put your file away, it will stay 50 to 10 years. If it is not different with Akina JM Karaoke, the Koinanges, the Meshukis, because of what? Because of certain disputes, the disputes and with the siblings, or also the dispute with outsiders. So you see, if you read the newspaper 2 weeks ago, where there's a certain law firm is claiming 800 million from one of the beneficiary of the estate of Meshuki. I can share the link with you, because the lawyers are eating money, because people didn't go to Enoch and sit down, and because they changed their mind when they went to court. Now the court, it's left in a limbo. Then everybody is saying like, no, me, I want this part. No, because I'm the one who's there. Because my father, when he was there, I'm the one who was very busy taking care of winter. You people, you are just enjoying life, going to Dubai and everything. The court does not care. The court will only need, have you sorted your family issues? Yes. Is everybody satisfied of the mode of distribution? Yes. Fine. Then the judge does his final reading and verdict. Then you're given the certificate of confirmation of grants. Then you can do as you wish with your properties. If you want to sell, if you want to rebuild, that is your problem. But now, this is what I tell people. Just do your wills to avoid these uncertainties, especially in land, because most disputes, they come on land, because a brother to Mr. Njoroge or maybe a brother to Leo, they bought land, but they forgot to do what? To divide that land into two. You ignored. Then what happens when you're 6 feet? Their wives, they start fighting. The children, they start fighting. They are thrown out. There is a chief who is bribed with 5,000 shillings. He gets vijana wa vijiji warushe nje. Sawa. I think, Enoch, you can add something about
thank you. Let Enoch
you face
add yeah, maybe. Enoch, as you wind up, you can just add the challenges. Guys, we've gone past, we've doubled. We were supposed to be here for 1 hour. This is 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So as you give us some of the challenges that you face, you can also try to give us a summary. Then we give Reverend to give his summary. Then Stella, you'll give us a final remarks. Then we'll have to end the show and wait for next edition, that is on Sunday. And Stella, you know, we will always have you, because you also joined the political talks. We'll always have you when we are talking politics, which is good. And Sundays, jua Sunday ni ile siku tunaweka siasa kando, so tunashughulikia watu kuwapatia information. Actually, people are really learning a lot. I personally have learned a lot since we started this edition. We started the first edition last weekend. I managed to learn that there's this thing called green card. Mimi green card nilikuwa najua tu ile ya kwenda America. So I learned that, I don't need to go to America. Maybe I don't need ndio niongee mambo ya green card. Kumbe I can just have a green card hapa tu kwa Ministry of Lands. So this thing is really opening people's eyes, and people are really getting advised. Kuna watu wengi wanasikiza hapa, they bought land, but up to date ile shamba umenunua ushago, unajua au mtu namjua kwao ni pale, so you don't have any documentation. But you're now realizing that the way things change, you see the world is evolving. Something might happen, the person who sold you land might pass, and you never know what the family might be thinking. Maybe they are not happy when the land was sold to you, so they'll come for the land. You've also told us something important here, that when I want to sell land, my wife will also get informed and she'll also have to confirm. So meaning I can agree and sell land, then my wife can go and say, no, I did not agree. Huyu ameuza shamba na ameacha watoto. So such kind of information is really great, and that is why we have this kind of shows. I can see on the comment section, Goodyear is also appreciating that it has really been a great learning curve. Esrambatia is appreciating, and she likes the way Stella is elaborating on the issues. Richard Relay, karibu sana. Ruth Apondi was there. Then we also have Yufin. It tells you people are really concentrating and they are learning something from this show. So we are not doing it in vain. I know with the time, somebody will sit somewhere and say that it was that kind of show that I used to listen to or to watch on Sunday that made me not to make a mistake. It was that kind of show that advised me and made me to buy some land when I'm in diaspora. It was that kind of show that saved me from spending a lot of money in the corridors of God by doing due diligence. So Enoch, you can just wind up as you give us some of the challenges that you face when you're trying to help people. I know you are also helping them on the human rights side. Nilo unapata nyewe mtu makosa alikosa.